Hey, welcome. So today we're going to decode something pretty cool, the biography. I mean, think about it. How do you take someone's entire life, all the good stuff, the tough stuff, and fit it into a story? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. Let's dive in. All right, let me ask you something right off the bat. Have you ever, just stared up at the stars and thought, man, what would it be like to go to space? Just floating around, seeing the Earth from way, way up there. It's a huge dream, right? The kind of dream that feels almost impossible. Well, for some people, that impossible dream is, well, it's their job. I want you to meet Samantha Cristoforetti. She's an astronaut who didn't just pop into space for a quick trip. Nope. She lived there for 200 days straight. That's a new European record. I mean, seriously, what a story. And look, a journey like that doesn't just happen overnight. It's built step by step, year by year. If you look at her path, okay, so in 2001, she gets a master's in mechanical engineering. Fast forward to 2009, she's chosen to be an astronaut. Then, boom, 2014, she's launching into space. Every single one of these points is packed with just an incredible amount of hard work and dedication. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll stick with Samantha's amazing story for a bit, then figure out how we tell stories like hers. We'll crack open the biography blueprint, talk about first versus third person, and then wrap up with why all this stuff really matters. All right, so we've got this awesome story, right? From student to record-breaking astronaut, but it all kind of begs one big question. How in the world do we know all of this about her? The exact dates, her degree, her missions? I mean, we weren't there, so where did all this information come from? That's the puzzle we're going to solve today. And that question brings us right here. Let's pull back the curtain on how we actually tell a life story. The answer, it turns out, is a biography. You've heard the word a million times, but what is it really? It's actually super simple. A biography is just the story of a person's life, but it's written by somebody else. It's one person taking the time to learn all about another person and then sharing their story with the world. And here's the coolest part. You want to know where we got all this info about a world-famous astronaut? It came from a biography written by, get this, Year 5 students. How amazing is that? It just goes to show you anyone can be a biographer. You just need to be curious and find a story that needs to be told. Okay, so if anyone can write one, then how do they do it? Is there a secret formula? Well, that brings us to our next section, the biography blueprint. And yeah, it's kind of like building a rocket. There's a plan, there are parts, there are rules that make the whole thing work. So what's in this blueprint? Well, first, it's usually told in chronological order, from start to finish. It's broken up into sections, it's got to have real facts about the person's life, and it's almost always written in the past tense, because, this stuff already happened. The last and maybe most important piece is that it uses a third-person narrative. Let's talk a little more about that one. This brings us to a really key idea in storytelling, first or third person. It sounds all technical, but really it's just about one thing. Who is telling the story? Okay, so with a biography, the writer is kind of like a reporter. They're on the outside looking in and telling you what happened to someone else. That's why they use words like he, she, or they. They're not saying, I flew to space. They're saying, she flew to space. The writer is your guide, not the main character. And this is where we get the big showdown, biography versus autobiography. A biography, like we said, is third person. Someone else writes it about a person, using she or he. But when someone writes their own life story, that's an autobiography. And they use first-person words like I or me. A good way to remember it is that auto means self. So an autobiography is a self-story. And if we go back to our example, remember the students writing about Samantha? This is exactly what they did. They wrote, she was born in Milan and how she got her fighter pilot wings. See? They're telling her story from the outside. They're acting as biographers, and they nailed it. Okay, so for our last section, let's zoom out and ask the big question. Why bother? Why do these stories even matter? Why do we spend all this time learning about and telling other people's life stories? Because a good biography is so much more than just a list of facts and dates. It's like a roadmap for what's possible. When you read about what someone else went through, the struggles they faced, the mountains they climbed, you can't help but learn something for your own life. They're pure inspiration. They show us just how far we can go if we're brave enough to try. And honestly, who could say it better than Samantha herself? Her student biographers included this amazing quote from her. The sky is not the limit. And her whole life is proof of that, isn't it? It shows us that maybe the only real limits are the ones we put on ourselves. So, I'm going to leave you with this thought. Think about the people in your life, your family, your friends, heroes you look up to. Everybody has a story. And now that you know the blueprint, whose story are you going to tell?